Good afternoon once again. Today is Monday, the 28th of September, 2020. I'll take off my mask right now. So it's a pleasure to be back here again at the CCSA English Language Briefing. We've been away from the briefing for over a month, but however, even though we've been past over a month already, the wearing of masks remains very important for everybody in Thailand and around the world. So I'd just like to make this point to you. So firstly, today, I'll be recapping the situation in the past month as we haven't been on air to brief you since late August. And as you know, because the situation in Thailand is well under control. First of all, I'd just like to mention that today, the Prime Minister, as Director of the CCSA, chaired the General CCSA meeting this morning, which ended just recently. Some of the main messages that I'd like to recap in the general picture is first that His Excellency the Prime Minister has focused on a couple of issues. The first is that the medical personnel and the medical equipment are remain ready to address any surge or any new infections in Thailand. The second is that the wearing of masks remain very important. The spokesperson mentioned that the supply of various equipment, one example is the N95 mask. The supply is ample. The medical personnel have 2.7 million in stock. And the sale of commercial sale of masks to be used are to be sold at normal market prices, although they will still be controlled items. The third point, which is a focus of the Prime Minister, is that, of course, you know that Thailand has been doing quite well when compared to other countries around the world. So no matter what the criticism or no matter what the analysis is, Thailand has been doing quite well when compared to other countries. But of course, what does that take? That takes, of course, we take in all the comments and suggestions, we take in all the doubts, it's a trial and error things, and different measures that we have to adjust from time to time. Of course, we would advise people to look at it in the general picture. So what does it take for us to be successful, to be ranked top, one of the top countries in the world in controlling COVID? It takes all these things. It takes all these patients and looking at things from the wider perspective in a good and positive light, because we're all in this together. And I'll come back to that. So the spokesperson recapped the numbers that we have today, but of course he ended with three important messages, which I have a slide in English coming up for you. The spokesperson mentioned these three sort of phrases or blurbs. First is that our nation, Thailand, we're in the process of easing measures. It's been past the sixth phase. It's been 6, 7, 8 months since January, since February, when we had the peak of COVID. So the nation is easing the measures as we go along. But meanwhile, our people, the people, remain vigilant, remain non-complacent, remain very careful and cautious in living their lives. And soon, with all our cooperation and help, our economy will revive, it will rebound and become stronger. So these are the three basic, simple phrases that I'd like to put on the screen for you, as the spokesperson had mentioned. And this is the core of what we are looking towards ahead. The spokesperson mentioned about the various cases in the past months. We had very alarming cases on some weeks, in some days, when certain individuals were found to return back from foreign countries and testing positive for COVID. A person who worked as a DJ or a footballer and other cases. However, these situations did not escalate any further, fortunately, as all of the close contacts were quickly identified and kept under quarantine and observation, and lucky enough, none of the risk groups had tested positive for COVID. However, in the past month, we did have one additional death, fatality, a Thai worker aged 54 returning from abroad from the United Arab Emirates and was under state quarantine. He was found to be infected with COVID earlier, but unable to fight this deteriorating condition. So we express our heartfelt condolences to the family of the individual who passed away. With that, we also have to take a look at today's figures. We have a slide coming up for you in English, in which the spokesperson also recapped just now. First is that today we have 22 confirmed cases. That's quite a higher number than the other days comparatively in the past month. 22 new infections today, all of which were from overseas, found when they were in state quarantine. These are mostly Thai individuals who returned from South Sudan. If you recall, these are 16 Thai individuals who returned from South Sudan. If you recall, we sent over a UN PKO peacekeeping contingent of engineering corps. So 16 of these individuals came back and were tested positive. And the others were people, Thais returning from other countries around the world. So to date, we have 3,545 cumulative cases, as you can see on screen, with fatalities now increased to 59. Out of this 3,545, we have 3,369 in green, as you can see, having fully recovered and been discharged. So doing the math, 117 cases are active cases being treated. So although the situation remains to be less alarming than in the peak, the climax of the situation a few months ago, we can say that the world is still facing, of course, an accumulated total number which is very high, around 33 million infected cases and more than 1 million fatalities now. So our hearts go out to the countries around the world still facing the challenge of COVID, including those in our neighboring countries, countries bordering Thailand. The spokesperson mentioned that Thailand will soon be assisting our neighboring country, Myanmar, with equipment, RT-PCR, as well as PPEs in their fight against COVID. However, we are confident, remain confident that Myanmar will be able to overcome this, just like other countries in the region, like Vietnam and other countries in the region, in due course. So just to recap first, the repatriation. So far, the government has repatriated around over 70,000 Thai nationals from countries around the world by air. And for foreign nationals, to date, around 19,000 COEs or certificate of entries have been issued for foreign nationals, qualified foreign nationals who want to return to Thailand. In this number, 19,000 foreigners, around 10,000 are work permit holders, 2,800 are family foreigners or family members of Thai nationals, as well as 2,178 foreign students, and the rest are from the different qualified groups. So 70,000 plus Thais, over 19,000 foreigners having returned already under these schemes. So for those returning, of course, undergoing mandatory 14-day state quarantine that remains in the SQ, ASQ, ALQ, or OQ. Just to mention that we have some new numbers. The number of alternative state quarantines for foreign nationals to be quarantined in when they return now, total 73. As for the alternative local quarantine, meaning in the provinces for foreign nationals to be quarantined in, we have 5 now in the provinces of Phuket, Chonburi, and Buriram. One important piece of information is about the approval of the special tourist visa, or the STV, which the government has recently approved for long-stay tourists, where international tourists can stay in Thailand for up to 270 days. And after applying for the STV, the foreign national must present the certificate of entry, a letter confirming the COVID test with a negative result 72 hours prior to departure to Thailand, and insurance, which has coverage of 3 million baht. After arriving in Thailand, the STV holders will have to undergo the 14-day state quarantine at an ASQ or ASQ as mentioned, without any exception. For the various groups that are allowed to return to Thailand, The spokesperson recapped major clusters of these groups. We mentioned this before already in the past. I'll just recap a bit more because there has been some changes and some expansion of these groups. The first is foreign athletes, approved foreign athletes coming in for controlled activities or controlled competitions. The second is those who hold APEC, APEC cardholders can come into Thailand upon approval. APEC member countries that have a low risk. The other group, important group, is of course the STV scheme for long stay entry, which has been approved by the cabinet since the 15th of September 2020. On this scheme in particular, many groups have been, just for example, many groups have been preparing to enter because they have passed the criteria. So around from the 8th of October onwards, there will be these specific groups coming in to Suvarnabhumi Airport as well as Phuket on either commercial flights or private flights or chartered flights. And these groups, the number vary up to 150 persons. Another piece of information is, of course, that I have to just put out a disclaimer first in saying that what I will be saying will be the information that has been confirmed, not those under discussion yet. So there is an important issue which will be approved by Cabinet tomorrow, has been sent for proposed to be approved by Cabinet tomorrow, which will be an important piece of information concerning visas for foreign nationals. But this has been under discussion with even the private sector also. But the best is, of course, we have to wait until the Cabinet approves this tomorrow, and the information will be coming out tomorrow after the weekly Cabinet meeting. As I mentioned, of course, we look at things in the bigger picture. That is what it took for Thailand to be placed quite high in the ranking of COVID control. The various measures that we had to be flexible on, the various measures that we have to adjust from time to time. And I'm sure that everybody understands this, and this is what has made Thailand a safe place in terms of COVID. So for this issue, waiting for the Cabinet approval for tomorrow. Hope that everyone looks at the big picture for the benefit of Thailand, for the benefit of those people living in Thailand and who call Thailand home. Looking at the big picture for the benefit of everybody in the general picture. So one of the issues that's important is, of course, the issue about the economic situation. We're moving on in terms of building a stronger economy post-COVID. Some analyze that within 3 years, Thailand's economy will be boosted back again once there is a vaccine available. The tourism industry will regain confidence and see a rebound. Of course, this will be perhaps faster than our recovery during the Asian financial crisis, which took around 5 years. But businesses affected by the COVID pandemic are tourism related, such as hotels, tour industry, retailers, and export-oriented industries. And in this post-COVID phase for Thailand, we hope to gradually regain confidence with initial travelers coming from within the region, travelers coming in from the STV scheme, as I mentioned, and other schemes as well. There has also been a positive impact on various sectors during COVID, such as digital services, e-commerce, and food delivery, as you all know. So the Royal Thai government has been fully aware of this economic toll on our citizens and have been taking many measures to curb the effect. And since May, as soon as the number has clearly started to reduce, we have gradually eased the partial lockdown, the reopening of businesses, so that the businesses and economy can be reinvigorated. So a series of economic packages, as you know, have been used to address the hardships and difficulties of a wide range of businesses in Thailand, and hoping that everyone can get back on their feet and to normality as quickly as possible. In order to maintain the low numbers, the ranking, the sense of confidence of the economy, of the people, of the inbound and outbound travel. As I mentioned, almost 20,000 foreign nationals have returned, and Thai nationals as well, over 70,000. If you count by land as well, it's 90,000. So for all this connectivity, all this business continuity to be maintained, the government will be extending the emergency situation for another month until the 31st of October. This will be the 6th extension to be implemented to ensure the safety of everyone. The situation around the world has yet to improve, frankly speaking, but we thank everyone for your understanding on this matter. This will be presented to Cabinet tomorrow at the weekly Cabinet meeting, as mentioned by the spokesperson. So just like the last briefing, we'd like to stress that, of course, both Thais and non-Thai nationals are in this boat together. We must continue to work together so that the virus will go away, totally go away. I'm not sure when that will be, but in the meanwhile, we know that the virus does not discriminate at all, wherever you are in the world. It's considered as a common villain, a common enemy, and hoping that Thailand, just like other countries around the world, will prevail in the end if we continue to work hand in hand. Of course, it takes understanding. It takes sacrifice. And of course, it takes all of us looking at the big picture. We have to be flexible. We have to be very fluid in terms of our outlook in solving this problem, in terms of the measures. It has to be adjusted from time to time. That is important. And as I repeat, that is what has made Thailand strong and one of the safer countries around the world during this COVID era, during this year in particular. So since we've been having this briefing almost every day during the peak of COVID. Now we had a pause because of the situation got better, obviously. And we haven't been doing this for over a month now. I'm not sure when the next CCSA general meeting will be, but if there is one in the future, we'll be having a briefing after that. Just to reiterate that we must not let our guard down, as the Prime Minister had highlighted, as the spokesperson as well, having masks and wearing one all the time is still a must. Continue to do all our parts equally together to prevent the second wave from happening in Thailand. So nonetheless, the CCSA, despite the situation being better now, life back to normal, we can't tell the difference now, actually, aside from people wearing masks. So, but nonetheless, the CCSA will continue to work to the utmost of its ability to not only to prevent COVID, but to revive the economy for the benefit of everyone here in Thailand, while also working with the international community to restore the global economy for the vitality of everyone on this planet. So with that, may I just say briefly that the CCSA, in a sense, we would be handing over the baton or handing over the important duty, the main duty of reviving the economy to the center that handles the post-COVID economy, which has already been created. This center, or the SABSA, is working tirelessly to revive the economy, the post-COVID economy. For us here at the CCSA, we were focused on the situation, the health aspect, the repatriation aspect, the connectivity and way of living, the various measures, the businesses. We were focused on that. But in a more macro and general picture, the Center for Post-COVID Economy, or SABSA, will be taking over from us on that particular aspect. So with that, I thank you very much for your attention. You can always, as I repeat often, you can always find information about the CCSA, about our information releases, all the updated data on social media, on the website of the CCSA, the Foreign Ministry, the Public Relations Department, the CDC of the Ministry of Public Health. All of these platforms are available for detailed information in both Thai and in English. And we'll be updating that after each briefing and actually on a almost daily basis. So once again, I thank you very much. I hope that all of you will stay safe and stay strong, and we are continuing now with our normal, everyday lives. Thank you very much for your sacrifice, for your attention. สวัสดีครับ